which is basically my life motto in general. Just wing it and hope that everything doesn't end in fire and brimstone. What the fuck is brimstone? You just take a second to appreciate my eyeliner game, because I think it's pretty good today. So as some people might know, I used to be a really big fan of young adult fiction. I also used to be an English major, which we don't really talk about, but I still have this burning desire to talk about books and literature because I am an opinionated person, which is shocking to no one. But in the last couple years, I realized that I completely stopped reading YA. I got a little bit frustrated with it because I thought I'd gotten to a point where maybe I've outgrown it and it's no longer relevant to me, which was kind of sad because I was always a big believer that you don't have to be a teenager or, you know, young adult to enjoy young adult literature. Another problem that I had, and a criticism that I even had when I was in the primary age group for young adult fiction, is that a lot of the time the narrator in the novel doesn't sound genuine or believable. Like, you could definitely tell that it's written by what's usually a middle-aged man who is out of touch with how teenagers think and feel and talk. I'm gonna try not to throw anyone under the bus here, but I'm sure there are several examples that come to mind when I say this, because there are definitely several examples that I can think of just right off the top of my head. Most recently, meaning I finished it today, I read Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, which is probably not in focus. This book falls into a growing genre, which is a bit of a cliche that's referred to as sick lit, and let me tell you, it's got some problems. I do want to say that I was pretty entertained by this book. I couldn't put it down. I finished it in less than 24 hours, which is a pretty big deal for me. But what really killed me about this is that the narrator is so fucking unlikable, and I get that he's probably not supposed to be likable, but he does say and do a lot of problematic things, which is a little bit hard to rectify because I don't want to make the excuse that, yeah, he's young and he doesn't know any better, and a lot of other teenagers do and say problematic things, but then again, so do a lot of adults. And it is kind of hard because I don't know how much of it is the author being problematic and how much of it is the author intentionally writing this character this way. But basically, we got a little bit of racism, we got some ableism, definitely some misogyny. It's just a whirlwind of fun, problematic things. There's one part when he's thinking back on all of the girls that he liked when he was younger, and he says, "In 4th grade, I realized that girls were desirable. I had no idea what you were supposed to do with them, of course. I just sort of wanted to have one, like as a possession or something." And I get that that's a 4th grade perspective, like obviously he's grown out of that, but the problem is he hasn't grown out of that, and most of the book is him kind of objectifying women and not really seeing them as people. There's also a specific conversation that really doesn't add anything to the story. It's meant to be kind of a comedic back and forth between him and his friend Earl, where they just make fun of bisexuals and are really biphobic. I think the author thinks that this is just a funny joke. I don't think he realizes that it's really biphobic and not cool, which is kind of the sense I get from him about most of the problematic things that he says in the book, that the author just isn't aware that what he's saying is not cool, even if it's through the voice of a high schooler. I also feel like a lot of the popular young adult novels center around white, straight, cis boys that are just, like, not very pleasant people. I get kind of tired of that. Like, I would like to see some more diversity and representation of characters. And I'm sure they exist, and I would definitely like suggestions from you guys, but I feel like the ones that I hear about aren't representing the diversity of characters that actually exist. And if we do see other characters that are, you know, women, people of color, part of the LGBTQ community, disabled, etc., they're still being seen through the lens of a white, straight, cis character. So we're not really getting their experiences, we're getting this main character's thoughts on those other people, and we're not really getting it straight from the source. Obviously, every person ever is different, but we're only getting a perspective that, you know, is privileged. We're not really seeing someone that experiences sexism or racism or homophobia. We're only seeing it through the lens of a privileged person. So we're really only seeing a reflection of that person rather than the direct experience of that person. We're not getting their full experience word for word. We're only getting someone else interpreting their experience. And it's hard to really genuinely represent experiences of sexism and racism and homophobia and other types of oppression when we're not really getting it straight from the source or straight from someone who has actually experienced these things firsthand. I'm tired of seeing marginalized characters being used as a plot device to further the development of the privileged protagonist. And I'm just so sick of this Manic Pixie dream girl dying character who, we don't really get to see their perspective or growth or anything from them. Their existence is solely to change the life of the white male straight protagonist. Looking at you, Alaska Young and Summer Finn and the dying girl and me and Earl and the dying girl. I'm just so fucking sick of this trope. See, now I'm remembering why I don't make videos like this, because they don't make a whole lot of sense. I'm also going to ask for suggestions for young adult books written by members of these marginalized communities, because I do think it's important that we celebrate them and make their perspectives known, because they're valid and important and we don't see enough of them. So yeah, I'm going to ask that everyone who has recommendations for these kinds of books comment below, and if you're interested in finding more books like this, then just look through the comments and maybe start a discussion, and we can help support marginalized people writing about marginalized characters. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this one. Also, this is completely voluntary, but if you would like to help support this channel and Feminist Fridays, then please consider donating to my Patreon, which will be linked below.